Ladies and gentlemen, there's a hard truth we all eventually face, though some of us spend years trying to avoid it. Nobody will fight for your dreams. Not your parents, not your friends, not your mentors, and not the systems you hope will lift you up. At best, they may support you, encourage you, or applaud you, but fight for you. That's your job, and yours alone. From the moment we're old enough to imagine a better future for ourselves, we begin sketching dreams. Some of us want to build businesses, others want to perform on stages, lead communities, or change the world in small, powerful ways. But while dreaming is easy, defending that dream when it's under pressure, that's where the test begins. Most people don't quit because they lack ability. They quit because the world didn't cheer loud enough. They mistook silence for rejection. They expected a crowd to notice something only they could see. Here's what you need to understand: the world responds to results, not intentions. Until your dream manifests in action, it's invisible to everyone but you. You are the only person who sees the vision in full color, which means you are the only one who can bring it to life. Think of your dream like a seed. Nobody else knows what kind of tree it will grow into, but you do. And while others might lend you water or sunlight for a moment, the digging, the planting, the protecting from storms, that's on you. We've been conditioned to seek permission. We wait for someone to validate our ideas. We wait for the right time. We wait for a partner, an investor, a breakthrough. But what if the breakthrough you're waiting for is actually waiting for you to begin? Here's something important. Your dream is not your job. It's your responsibility. When people don't believe in you, it's not personal. It's mathematical. They haven't seen what you've seen. They haven't felt the fire you felt when that idea first sparked. So stop expecting others to carry a torch they never lit. The difference between people who try and people who transform is this: those who transform take full ownership. They understand that chasing a dream is not an act of ego. It's an act of duty. You weren't given your dream for it to be admired. You were given it so it could be built. And that's why you must show up even when no one claps. Work even when no one watches. Believe even when doubt is louder than hope, because dreams don't die from failure, they die from neglect. So let me ask you, will you let your dream die in the dark, or will you become the person who finally brings it in the light? No one will fight for your dream. But if you do, just maybe, the world will follow. A fifth keynotes from the speech. Only you can see the full picture of your dream. Your dream is invisible to others until you make it real. Don't expect others to understand or fight for something only you can fully see and feel. Support is not the same as responsibility. Others may support or encourage you, but the responsibility to take action and follow through is solely yours. Results earn attention, not intentions. The world doesn't respond to ideas alone. It responds to the execution of those ideas. Action creates visibility. Waiting for permission is a trap. Waiting for the right time or for validation keeps dreams stagnant. Progress begins the moment you decide to move. Dreams fade when you stop fighting. Failure doesn't kill dreams. Neglect does. To protect your vision, you must show up even when it's hard, lonely, or invisible to others. Every great dream begins with a vision, a deeply personal and often unexplainable sense of possibility that exists only in the mind of the person who carries it. It might emerge as a spark, an image, a desire, or a persistent thought that refuses to go away. But what's critical to understand is that at the start, this dream belongs entirely to you. No one else can see it as clearly. No one else feels it the way you do. That's not a flaw in the system. It's a feature of how dreams are born. When you have a vision, it's like watching a movie in your head that no one else has tickets for. You see the end result, the change it will create, the path it might take. You may even hear the applause in your imagination or feel the satisfaction of impact. But when you talk about it to others, their reaction may feel distant, underwhelming, or even dismissive. That disconnect often discourages people from moving forward. They take others' lack of excitement as proof that the dream isn't valid or realistic. But what they fail to realize is this: others don't lack belief. They lack the clarity you have. People cannot fully believe in something they can't see. And unless you've already built a track record of making the invisible real, most won't give their energy to a vague possibility. That doesn't make them cynical, it just makes them human. Most people are driven by what they can measure, understand, or touch. Dreams in their early form are intangible. They exist only in your internal world. That makes them fragile. That also makes them powerful, but only if you accept the responsibility to nurture them. If you're waiting for someone else to validate your dream, you're likely to be disappointed. Not because your dream isn't worth pursuing, but because no one else can possibly feel what you feel. That dream was given to you, not to them. Think of it like being the only person who knows the coordinates to a buried treasure. You can share the map, but unless someone truly believes the treasure exists, they won't dig with the same urgency or commitment. It doesn't matter how eloquently you describe it, belief is built through experience. And at the start, only you have that experience. This is where many people stumble. They confuse a lack of enthusiasm from others as a sign they should stop. They expect family, friends, or mentors to echo their vision back to them with full confidence. But it rarely works that way. Even those who love you may not immediately understand what you're building. Their doubts don't always come from a lack of faith in you. They often come from fear. Fear that you'll fail. Fear that you'll get hurt. Fear that the world is too unforgiving. And sometimes that fear is disguised as advice, questions, or concern. You must learn to differentiate between love and limitation. The reality is that clarity is earned through creation. Once you begin building your dream, piece by piece, action by action, others can finally start to see it. But you have to go first. You have to take the idea out of your mind and give it form, shape, and momentum. That's when people start to take notice. That's when belief begins to spread. Not because the dream became more valid, but because you made it visible. No one else has your combination of insight, experience, emotion, and perspective. That unique blend is what gives your dream its edge. But it also means no one else can replicate your conviction. Your job is not to convince others to believe before you start. Your job is to start, even when no one believes. In fact, your willingness to take the first step without applause is the strongest proof that your dream matters. Because if it only matters when others cheer, it was never really yours to begin with. The challenge is to lead yourself when there is no crowd, to work in the shadows before the spotlight ever shows up. That kind of internal leadership, that ability to carry your own vision, is what separates dreamers from doers. You don't need everyone to understand. You just need to understand deeply enough that their confusion doesn't slow you down. Only you can see the full picture at the beginning. And until you're willing to act on that incomplete, unrecognized, and unsupported vision, it will stay where it started in your imagination. But the moment you take responsibility for it, without needing permission or applause, is the moment your dream begins to grow into something others can finally see. A dream begins in silence. It forms not with fanfare or applause, but in the quiet corners of the mind. It's a whisper of something more, a vision of what could be, often born in the middle of struggle, boredom, inspiration, or restlessness. This vision is personal. It's abstract, emotional, and often hard to explain to others. And that is the first thing you must accept about your dream. No one will see it as clearly as you do. Only you can see the full picture. This is not because others are blind or unsupportive. It's because they haven't lived your experiences, felt your convictions, or internalized the meaning behind what you envision. Your dream was given to you, and only you are handed the unique lens through which it makes sense. That means you must carry the burden of belief, especially in the beginning, before there's any proof that what you see is even possible. It's easy to forget that the early stages of any dream look foolish to those standing on the outside. All they see is uncertainty, risk, and the absence of results. What you see, what fuels you, is the potential that hasn't materialized yet. This is where most people start to feel isolated. You try to share your dream, explain it to others, gather feedback or support. And instead of enthusiasm, you receive doubt, confusion, or indifference. That reaction doesn't always come from negativity. Often it's just a natural response to something they can't visualize. It's hard for people to emotionally invest in something they haven't seen, felt, or experienced for themselves. They don't have the full picture. Only you do. You are the only person carrying both the dream and the context that gives it meaning. If you rely on others to energize your dream before you've built any part of it, you'll be discouraged. Waiting for someone to understand what hasn't yet been created is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Your vision might be innovative, unconventional, or deeply personal, and those qualities often make it even harder to translate to someone else. So it's important to realize that your role isn't to convince people right away. Your role is to begin. You must be the one to paint the first strokes of the picture before asking anyone else to see it. That first step, the one where you start building without confirmation, is the most important and the most difficult. Because in that phase, you're surrounded by silence. There's no cheering. There's no recognition. There's no guarantee of success. Just you, the dream, and the decision to move forward anyway. This is why only a small number of people ever build something meaningful from scratch. It takes an unusual level of self-trust to act before others agree. It takes courage to walk in a direction no one else sees yet and continue walking until the path becomes visible to them too. In time, others may begin to notice. As your actions grow, as your progress becomes visible, the picture becomes clearer to them. They start to see the pieces coming together. They start to understand what you were trying to say. But even then, it's still your responsibility to hold the vision. Their belief might grow, but it's fragile. They will look to you for confirmation that this dream is still alive, still worth it, still real. If you doubt, they'll retreat. If you quit, they'll forget. If you stop, so will they. That is the weight of being the one who sees the full picture. You cannot outsource this role. No amount of love, advice, or mentorship can replace your own commitment to your dream. It's your job to wake up every day and remember why you started. It's your job to keep seeing it clearly even when the process becomes messy or slow. And it's your job to keep moving when no one else understands why it matters so much to you. You're the only one who knows what it's supposed to look like in the end. You're the only one who can sense how deeply important it really is. That knowledge is what makes you responsible, not to convince the world, but to create something the world can eventually see for itself. Support is a beautiful thing. It can lift you during hard times, motivate you when you're stuck, and remind you that you are not alone in your journey. Having people in your corner, whether they're friends, family, mentors, or colleagues, feels encouraging. They may cheer you on, believe in your potential, and celebrate your progress. But there is a critical distinction that must be understood. While support can be incredibly valuable, it is not the same as responsibility. Your dream is your responsibility, and no amount of support changes that truth. Support can make the path more manageable, but it does not remove the weight of ownership. People can walk beside you, but they cannot walk for you. They can encourage your progress, but they cannot be held accountable for it. Your life, your goals, your mission, these are things only you can carry all the way. The danger comes when we begin to confuse the emotional comfort of support with the practical responsibility of commitment. We think they believe in me, so I'm doing enough, or they're here for me, so I'll be fine. And then when results don't show up or momentum stalls, we don't always take full responsibility. We blame the absence or inadequacy of other support. This is how ownership quietly slips from our hands. It's human nature to want people to believe in us, and it feels good when they do. But there's a trap hidden in that desire, the belief that someone else's faith in us will carry the same weight as our own discipline. It doesn't. Motivation from others fades the moment life gets hard. External support is seasonal, situational, and at times conditional. But responsibility, the internal decision to show up, take action, and keep going it if you choose permanent, if you choose it to be. It isn't dependent on how you feel or how others respond. It's rooted in commitment, not convenience. There are moments in every journey where support will go quiet. People get busy. They move on. They have their own lives and challenges. Sometimes they don't understand your dream anymore. Sometimes they disagree with your direction. In those moments, if your sense of responsibility is tied to how many people are cheering for you, you will stop. You will feel discouraged and unworthy, not because your dream lost value, but because you forgot it was never their job to carry it in the first place. Responsibility means waking up and choosing to act whether you feel like it or not. It means continuing when the results are slow, the path is uncertain, and the praise is absent. It means being the one who keeps the fire alive when the room goes cold. No one else will light that fire for you every day. No one else can feel the urgency of your calling as deeply as you. That's not a flaw in them. It's the reality of being the dreamer. You were given the vision, the desire, the blueprint. That makes you the one responsible for seeing it through. It's important to also realize that support can sometimes become a distraction if misinterpreted. Constantly seeking reassurance, feedback, or emotional validation can become a replacement for real progress. You might talk about your goals more than you act on them, hoping that being supported feels close enough to being responsible. But they are not the same. Conversations don't build dreams. Actions do. Support might help you stand, but responsibility is what moves you forward. Even those who love you the most can only do so much. They can listen, they can care, they can give advice. But they cannot wake up and do the hard work in your place. They cannot sacrifice their time, energy, and peace for your dream the way you must. They cannot navigate your doubts, silence your inner critic, or stay disciplined for you. That's your job. And the more clearly you accept that truth, the stronger and more independent your progress becomes. When you take full responsibility, you stop waiting. You stop relying on others to make you feel ready or worthy. You begin to build something that does not rise and fall with the moods or presence of others. And ironically, that's when support becomes more meaningful, not because you need it to function, but because you've built enough on your own to know that you don't. Support is a gift, not a guarantee. It's a bonus, not a foundation. And while it can make the journey easier or more enjoyable, it should never be confused with the duty that belongs solely to you. Your dream doesn't need a fan club. It needs a leader. And that leader has to be you, consistently, quietly, and unapologetically responsible for what you said you wanted to become. Intentions are easy to form. They often come from a place of inspiration, excitement, or temporary motivation. We say things like, I'm going to start a business, I want to change my life, I'll write a book, or I plan to get healthy. These statements are full of desire and possibility. They feel good to say and even better to imagine. But intentions, no matter how noble or passionate, are not what the world responds to. The world notices results. The world moves when it sees evidence, not ideas. People are not obligated to believe in your intentions simply because you speak them aloud. Everyone has plans, but very few follow through. That's why society becomes desensitized to grand declarations. The more someone talks about what they're going to do, the more skeptical others become. Because the difference between someone with dreams and someone with discipline lies not in how loudly they talk about their goals, but in how consistently they produce results. It is not enough to want something. Wanting doesn't build trust. Doing does. You may feel deeply connected to your dream. You may have spent years thinking about it, planning it, or talking about it. But if you haven't shown something tangible, something that others can see, experience, or measure, then you're still living in the realm of imagination. And while there is nothing wrong with having dreams, you have to realize that dreams don't command respect until they start turning into outcomes. You earn attention through results, and results only come through persistent effort, focus, and execution. This is one of the reasons people feel frustrated when they don't receive the recognition or support they expect. They believe that because their intentions are strong and their ideas are meaningful, others should rally behind them. But what they don't realize is that attention is a byproduct of demonstrated value. The more you create, the more you build credibility, the more consistent your work, the more people begin to take you seriously. People respect evidence. They're moved by progress. They follow momentum, not promises. There is a natural gap between who you want to be and who you currently are. That gap can only be closed through action. No amount of dreaming, journaling, or visualizing will substitute for the hard truth that you must do something before the world notices. And doing something means more than starting. It means continuing. The world is full of people who begin things, but the ones who finish, the ones who endure, the ones who adapt and grow, those are the people who get noticed, not because they demanded attention, but because their consistency made them impossible to ignore. Results don't have to be massive to matter. They just have to be real. Small steps built over time create the kind of credibility that no speech or social media post ever could. When people see you show up day after day, improving, adjusting, and pushing forward, they begin to understand that your dream is not just a phase. They see that you're not chasing attention, you're chasing excellence. And excellence over time earns respect far more valuable than temporary applause. Intentions often come with a craving for validation. We want to be affirmed for wanting something good. But validation is fleeting when it's not backed by substance. When people see you talking more than you're building, they begin to tune out. When you spend more time posting about your plans than executing them, you become known not for your ambition, but for your inconsistency. That's not because people are cruel. It's because they're responding to what's real, and real always rises above rhetoric. You don't have to explain yourself when you have results. Your work speaks. Your consistency speaks. Your progress tells a story louder than any introduction ever could. The moment your actions align with your words, people listen differently. They stop questioning and start respecting. They stop doubting and start noticing. But that respect is not given for free, it's earned. And the currency is effort, time, and delivery. So if you want to gain attention, stop asking for it and start earning it. Stop waiting for someone to notice and start creating something worth noticing. Let your work introduce you before your words ever do. Let your results be your proof, your pitch, your profile. Intentions are where everyone starts. But if you want to finish strong, if you want your dream to matter to more than just yourself, you must understand that results are the only language the world truly responds to. One of the most common but unnoticed reasons people never begin chasing their dreams is that they're waiting for the perfect moment, the ideal conditions, or someone to give them permission. This waiting doesn't always look passive. It often disguises itself as preparation, research, or overthinking. It feels like progress, but it isn't. It's delay. It's fear wrapped in logic. The idea that someone somewhere needs to validate your direction before you start is a trap that keeps people stuck in potential instead of stepping into purpose. We grow up in systems that condition us to wait. In school, we raise our hands for permission to speak. In workplaces, we wait for approval before we act. Over time, we internalize the idea that taking action without permission is wrong, irresponsible, or even dangerous. So when it comes to our own lives, our own ideas, and our personal dreams, we hesitate. We keep asking, is this the right time? Am I qualified? Will people understand? Will they accept me? What will they say if I fail? The questions pile up and become mental walls that block forward movement. The irony is, nobody ever comes to remove those walls for us because no one else is responsible for doing that. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're allowed to become who you were meant to be. The moment you decide to take ownership of your life is the moment you give yourself the authority to act. But that's a hard shift to make when you've been waiting your whole life to be chosen. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for a mentor to endorse you, a boss to promote you, a partner to support you, or an audience to approve of your ideas. The truth is, if you don't approve of your own direction first, no amount of external permission will ever make you feel secure. Clarity doesn't come from being told you can do something. It comes from doing it. Waiting often becomes a way to avoid the discomfort of responsibility. If you're still waiting, then you haven't failed yet. If you haven't tried, then you can't be criticized. If you're still preparing, then you can't be judged for lack of results. But that safety comes at a cost. The longer you wait, the more momentum you lose. The more time you spend asking for permission, the less you're actually learning through experience. No book, course, or conversation can teach you what real action teaches. You grow by doing, not by asking to do. One of the greatest misconceptions is that successful people were somehow granted permission to lead, to build, or to dream. In reality, they started without it. They began before they felt ready. They acted without waiting to be chosen. What separated them from others wasn't talent. It was initiative. They chose themselves, not because they were certain they would succeed, but because they were certain they couldn't keep waiting. They understood that progress only begins when permission ends. There is no perfect moment coming. There is no final green light from the universe. And there is no single person who can give you the confidence to begin. The only thing that truly moves your dream forward is your willingness to act without needing confirmation. That doesn't mean acting recklessly or blindly. It means taking one step, then another, learning as you go, adjusting, refining, and becoming. Permission is not a door someone else opens for you. It's a door you build yourself piece by piece through consistent, intentional effort. People often admire those who lead boldly or build creatively, but what they don't see is the inner decision those individuals made long before the world noticed. They decided to stop waiting. They stopped hoping someone would show up and say, "Now is your time." They understood that now is always the time because life doesn't wait, opportunities don't wait, and dreams don't wait forever. The more you hesitate, the more distance you create between yourself and the future you claim to want. You may feel uncertain, you may feel underqualified, you may feel alone. But none of those feelings disqualify you from starting. What disqualifies you is the decision to do nothing, to stay still, to wait for validation instead of stepping into action. The moment you stop waiting is the moment you take back your power. Not because you suddenly know everything, but because you're willing to learn everything along the way. And that willingness is what opens doors, not permission slips from others. Your future does not depend on being chosen. It depends on you choosing yourself. Every dream begins with energy. There's a certain fire that lights up in your mind when the idea first hits you. You feel hopeful, excited, even unstoppable. In those moments, the dream feels alive. It feels real. It feels like destiny. But as time passes, as challenges mount, and as progress slows, that initial fire begins to dim. Not all at once, but gradually. Not because the dream itself changed, but because the fight behind it began to fade. Dreams don't vanish because they're impossible. They fade because we stop fighting for them. Fighting for a dream doesn't always look heroic. It's not always dramatic or inspirational. Most of the time, it looks boring, repetitive, quiet, and unseen. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's showing up to work when you're not getting praise. It's continuing when no one's watching. That is the real fight. And it's in those small, hidden moments that dreams are either protected or abandoned. When you stop giving your dream your full effort, your full focus, and your full heart, it begins to shrink. And over time, if you let that continue, it becomes something you used to believe in. Most people don't kill their dreams with one big decision. They don't wake up one day and say, I quit. Instead, they slowly stop showing up. They start compromising with distractions. They start settling for good enough. And before they know it, they've gone weeks, months, or even years without making progress. They tell themselves they'll come back to it when life is less stressful or when things feel easier. But easier rarely comes. Life doesn't get less demanding. And that pause slowly turns into a silent resignation. Fighting for your dream doesn't mean never taking breaks. It doesn't mean perfection or non-stop work. It means refusing to let go of the deeper reason why you started. It means holding on when it gets hard, because it will get hard. There will be days you feel uninspired. There will be seasons when results don't match your effort. There will be moments when you question everything. That's when the fight matters most. Not in the beginning when everything feels fresh, but in the middle when it's messy, uncertain, and lonely. The world doesn't owe you anything just because you have a dream. You don't get results just for wanting them. The dream is the beginning, but the discipline is what keeps it alive. You must be willing to protect it, not just from outside criticism, but from your own excuses, laziness, and fears. The fight isn't always external. In fact, the most dangerous enemy of your dream is not rejection from others. It's neglect from within. Every day you put it off, doubt it, or avoid it, you are slowly telling yourself it doesn't matter. And the more you say that, the more you start to believe it. The people who achieve great things aren't the ones with the best resources, the biggest platforms, or the most talent. They're the ones who didn't stop. They kept fighting when it was hard to justify it. They moved forward when no one was clapping. They worked in the dark, believing that the light would come. That belief, backed by effort, is what makes dreams real. Not luck, not magic, just relentless dedication. Even when you don't feel like it, the work matters. Even when you're discouraged, the progress counts. Even when everything seems still, something is happening beneath the surface. Momentum builds slowly. Results appear after long periods of silence. The fight you bring to your dream today determines the life it gets tomorrow. If you abandon it, it doesn't get another chance. Not because it couldn't happen, but because you stop giving it the energy it needed to survive. A dream is like a flame in the wind. It's beautiful, but vulnerable. It must be guarded, fed, and protected constantly. That doesn't mean forcing yourself to go fast every day. It means never letting it die out completely. Even a small step keeps it alive. Even a little progress fuels the fire. But when you go cold, when you stop trying, stop caring, stop believing, that's when the flame disappears, not loudly, but quietly. And that quiet death is what haunts so many people later in life. Not because their dreams were impossible, but because they were abandoned. The dream is still possible. It's still there waiting. But it can't fight for itself. It's waiting for you to remember why it mattered. It's waiting for you to care enough to keep going. Because dreams don't fade from failure. They fade when you stop fighting. You were not given your dream to sit back and hope someone else would make it happen for you. You were given it because you are the one meant to carry it, build it, protect it, and breathe life into it. Others may support you. They may cheer you on. They may walk beside you. But no one else will carry the weight of your vision the way you must. The world won't believe in your dream until you do. It won't move for your intentions. It will move for your results. And none of that happens if you spend your life waiting for the right moment, for permission, or for someone to fight your battles for you. The truth is simple, and it's not always easy to hear. Nobody will fight for your dreams, but you don't need them to. Because the moment you decide to take full ownership, without excuses, without delay, without asking for applause, you unlock something far more powerful than permission. You claim responsibility. And with that, your dream stops being a wish and starts becoming your mission. So the question is no longer whether your dream is possible. The question is whether you are willing to become the kind of person who refuses to let it die. The fight is yours. And it always has been